What's going on, guys? My name is Wade with TechDaily, and in this video we are checking out the new ZTE Axon 30 Ultra 5G. This is ZTE's latest high-end Axon device. It's actually been out for about a month now, but I really wanted the chance to see what this phone is all about because considering the price and all the specs and features this phone packs, I think this very well could be a solid alternative to the ultra expensive flagship phones. There's obviously a lot to go over here, so I won't waste any more time. Let's just go ahead and unbox this thing and see what the new Axon 30 Ultra has to offer. So ripping off all the plastic wrap and sliding off the lid, the first thing we get is the phone itself. We'll put that to the side for just a second, and diving a little deeper inside the package, you'll see we actually get a whole bunch more stuff. Inside the first packet, you'll find a SIM ejector tool, as well as some warranty information and the thickest instruction booklet I think I've ever seen in just about every language. Also included is a case for the phone as well. This one here is the flexible rubbery clear case, but I've seen some other folks get a slim hardshell plastic case instead. I'm not really sure how they're distributed or what the distinction is there, but a case should be included with the phone no matter where you buy this device. There's two more small boxes left to go here, and inside these you'll find an included USB-C cable for charging and a big beefy wall plug that supports up to 65-watt fast charging, which is pretty awesome. Finally, in the last box, there's a USB-C to 3.5mm headphone adapter, but for whatever reason though, in my box, I didn't get any actual earbuds. Kind of strange, but a set of wired earbuds is usually included with the adapter as well. With all that stuff out of the way, here is the Axon 30 Ultra 5G once again. And yes, that giant sticker does come off the back with ease, there's no worries there. The phone I have here is, I guess, technically the black colorway, even though it looks more blue-gray to me. It's an interesting finish nonetheless, but the phone also comes in a lighter blue, white, and dark brown. And to start off, I definitely need to mention the price on this. The Axon 30 Ultra retails for $749 for the configuration with 8 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of storage. For $100 more, you can get 12 gigs of RAM and 256 gigs of storage, and comparatively with the rest of the specs inside this phone, which I'll go over in just a second, that's actually a pretty good deal, and certainly undercuts some similar flagship caliber devices. If you're interested, I'll leave a link down below in the video description to where you can get this device right now at its cheapest price. Physically, the Axon 30 Ultra is a big, beefy, ultra premium phone, both with its look and with the materials. Size-wise, this device rocks a 6.67-inch screen with that taller 20:9 aspect ratio and a really solid 91% screen-to-body ratio. With that big screen, you get very minimal bezels framing it across the top and bottom, and just a small center hole punch cutout for the selfie camera there up top. All in all, at first glance to me, this absolutely looks like a flagship caliber phone with minimal distractions. And one design aspect you might also notice is the curved glass along the sides and edges. This is something a lot of phones have kind of done away with now. You don't see it as much anymore, but it definitely makes the phone feel slim and sleek in the hand. The tapered back cover also adds to that thin feel. The downside is, of course, you might run into some accidental touches depending on how you hold the phone with its curved sides, but ZTE does have some touch prevention software and settings to help combat that. Around back, the Axon 30 Ultra is covered by a matte frosted glass, which I think looks really nice. And while a lot of other companies deliver plastic housings here now, ZTE just went all in with the premium materials. Finished off with a polished metal frame, and I think you can see why I consider this to be a very premium feeling device. There's really no compromises with the build or materials here. Taking a closer look at everything else, there's nothing on the left side of the phone there, but on the right side you'll find the power and volume buttons. Down below there's your SIM card tray, USB-C port for charging, and one of 2 speakers, the usual one at the bottom there, and a secondary speaker in the earpiece for dual stereo sound. This, you guys know, is something I like to see, especially on a phone at this price point, and I think the out loud listening experience is pretty decent. Here's a quick sample so you can get an idea. Obviously, around back, we've got a massive camera module with quite the setup. triple 64 megapixel lenses. And I'll dive a little deeper into what that's all about in just a second. But finishing off the rest of the hardware, underneath the display there is an in-display fingerprint sensor. This to me feels pretty quick. It doesn't quite rival the likes of the S21 for example, but plenty fast enough either way. The only thing you'll have to get used to is the placement really. It's a little higher than average I think, more towards the middle of the display, but once you've got a feel for it, it's definitely fast and accurate enough in my opinion. So let's actually talk a little more about the display itself because there's a few interesting tidbits worth mentioning here. First off, spec-wise, the 6.67-inch screen is a 2400 by 1080 resolution AMOLED panel with HDR10 Plus support. It pushes about 395 pixels per inch, and from a standard viewing distance, this is a good looking screen. It's bold, it's bright enough, it maybe isn't the highest resolution considering the size, but what it lacks in pixels, which by the way you probably won't notice anyway, it certainly makes up for in refresh rate. The Axon 30 Ultra offers up to a 144 Hz refresh rate mode, and you might recognize that that's even higher than the usual 120 Hz we're seeing on today's $1,000 flagships. The compromise, if you want to call it that, is the fact that the refresh rate is more or less variable. On the home screen and main menus, you'll likely experience the full 144 Hz when flipping through the UI, and because of that, the phone feels incredibly fast and responsive. But most apps and games will then drop you down to 120 Hz or 90 Hz when you launch them, so keep that in mind. Either way you look at it though, you're getting a high refresh rate display no matter what it is you're doing on the phone. And while the 144 Hz isn't exactly going to be offered to you everywhere by default, I respect ZTE for at least putting something like that in a phone like this and really pushing those limits. All in all, this is a really specced out display, both from a viewing perspective and from a UI perspective as you tap, touch, and swipe your way through the phone. It's not only great to look at, it's plenty colorful, it's sharp enough, but also obviously ultra fast and responsive as well. Inside, the Axon 30 Ultra also packs 2021 flagship specs. So we get the new Qualcomm Snapdragon 888 5G processor, the Adreno 660 GPU, 8, 12, or even 16 gigs of RAM, and 128, 256, or up to 1 terabyte of internal UFS 3.1 storage. Altogether, those internal components are beyond top of the line for this year, and that means this phone is as capable, and in some cases even more capable, than just about anything else on the market today, and oftentimes even more powerful than some phones at a higher price. On the software side of things, this phone does ship with Android 11, but you'll notice the new MyOS 11 skin on top of it. Now on the one hand, this is still a pretty stock Android experience, which is great. Not only does this phone feel fast, but you don't really get any bloatware or anything too obnoxious with the theme. The launcher though is a little different. You can see the default icon set is sort of iOS-like, and the drop-down menu takes some getting used to, though its setup is very nice and you can toggle on and off the most important things you need to quickly with ease. I look forward to really putting this phone to the test in my full review because I think it will be a powerhouse. I'm also interested to get a better feel for MyOS as well, and I think in general there's a lot to like here with both the internal specs and the software experience. One other thing worth noting, the battery in this phone is a 4600 milliamp capacity. On a phone this size, that's actually pretty decent, but the real icing on the cake, like I mentioned earlier, is the included 65 watt fast charger. With this, you can potentially juice up the Axon 30 Ultra from 0 to 75% in about 30 minutes, which is really pretty fast. This means you'll be spending next to no time on the charger, which is great. And I'm interested to see how the Snapdragon 888 paired with the super high refresh rate display ends up working out as far as longevity, but I think there's the right combination of stuff here to keep you off the charger. The one missing feature is the lack of any wireless charging on this phone, but I know for me personally, it's not something I regularly utilize, so I don't mind that ZTE didn't include it. Finally, let's talk about all those cameras around back, and there's really a lot to discuss here. Hardware-wise, the triple lens setup is in fact 3 different 64 megapixel lenses. A 64 megapixel standard lens with an f1.9 aperture, a wide angle at an f1.6, and a 120-degree ultra-wide shooter. And on top of all that, there's also an additional 8-megapixel telephoto lens as well, which offers 5 times optical zoom and up to 30 times digital zoom. So collectively, the hardware setup here is really pretty crazy, but it doesn't really stop there. Inside the camera app, you'll find flagship caliber shooting capabilities like 8K video recording at up to 30 frames per second, long exposure mode, manual mode, night mode, and even multi-camera support right in the app for shooting and filming with multiple lenses at once. Now, ZTE has really heavily advertised this camera setup on the Axon 30 Ultra, and I'm excited to put it to the test in the coming days to see if it lives up to all that hype. Just snapping a quick selfies here to get an idea of the color and detail and image processing. Things look pretty good actually out of the box, very natural skin tones, sharp looking picture. I think there's a lot of potential here, but like I said, I'm really going to put this setup to the test because I think out of everything on this phone, it's this triple 64 megapixel setup and all those millions of pixels ZTE claims that they advertise probably more than anything else. And I'm interested to see how these pictures and videos really stack up. So there you go. Those are my initial thoughts and first impressions, at least, on the new ZTE Axon 30 Ultra. What do you guys think? Is this the flagship alternative that you guys are looking for? I think there's definitely a lot to like here personally, but let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts, of course. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video though. Be sure to follow TechDaily on Twitter and subscribe to the TechDaily YouTube channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys later.